Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we are going to do a little bit of a swatching video. I have been asked about my Inktense pencils that I use, and so I thought it might be good if I would swatch all my Inktense pencils that I have in my kit. And this is the pencil case that I take out with me and use, and it has all my pencils in. Fun fact, I actually screen printed and made this little pencil case back when I was screen printing and making goods, so it's kind of nice to use it now. I'm just going to take out all of my Inktense pencils. So Inktense pencils are produced by Derwent, and I've probably been using them for about maybe a year and a half. But I really started using them in the way that I am using them about less than a year ago, and I'll tell you what happened. I'll just get all of the pencils out. There we go, those are all of my Inktense pencils. I must admit, the colours that are painted on them sometimes don't look anything like the colour that comes out of the pencil, so sometimes that's a bit misleading. Like, those colours look very similar, but they are very different. So yeah, I also share this pencil case with the Luminance pencils, and you would have seen I did a swatch and an art haul on those recently. And I'm also going to use my little water brush pen because I'm going to swatch them both dry and also wet, and you can see then the change in the colour. So, I also want to show you something in this sketchbook, so I'm just going to put these down and then I can talk to you about that. Okay, so I've lined up all of my Inktense pencils here so you can see, and they are in some kind of colour order, and I just wanted to share with you an image from my sketchbook which kind of changed the way I was using my Inktense pencils. So I've just marked it here and you'll see. So this sketch here I did on the 24th of May last year, and I did it outside and actually went to a place very near to me. It was wood, and I thought I'd packed all of my sketch kit. So what I mean by that is that I normally take with me my watercolours, I take my black ink pen, and I would also take my pencils. And on this particular day, I think I must have been rushing to get out, but I discovered that I'd forgotten to pack my watercolour set, and I just had my Inktense pencils and this water brush. And you know what, I'd kind of sat there and thought, oh no, I can't do this, because up until that point I'd just been using my watercolours to kind of give the background, and then my pencils just to lightly go over the top. And you can see here, you see a lot of this is all watercolour, and then I use the Inktense pencils on top. You see in this picture, it's all watercolours, it's the base, and then the Inktense pencils almost kind of just define it. this one is a good example. Yeah, so you've got the watercolours as the base, and then I've kind of very lightly, tentatively, I think, just added bits of line to define the shapes here. So yeah, I was kind of felt a bit stuck, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this now. But I decided I would, because I was like, come on, the Inktense pencils actually could act as your watercolours because they're all water soluble, and then you can layer up on top. So that's what I did, and what I found was that I got a much richer sketch by just using the Inktense pencils as my base and then letting those dry. So I'd dilute them with the water and then layer on top of it. But I just really loved this kind of intense look to the sketch, and from this point on I then thought, oh, I don't actually need to rely on my watercolours so much. I can just actually use my Inktense pencils. So you'll see that's kind of influenced then the rest of these drawings. So yeah, I can see that this is Inktense. I think that might have been watercolour, but definitely you'll see the look of the pictures are a lot more intense and just more saturated. And that's the thing with the Inktense pencils, is that they when you soften them and dilute them, they just have an intensity to them which you don't get sometimes if you're just using your watercolours. So yeah, and this one definitely I felt was a bit of a breakthrough moment for me, because I started using my water soluble crayons as well, and I just loved the textures I was able to get, and then the colour from the Inktense pencils, and then just being able to layer it up and build in layers. And yeah, I just got very excited. So I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about that, and you can see how I use the Inktense pencils in my work alongside now the water soluble crayons. And then sometimes I still do use the watercolours as well, so I think it's a mix, but it definitely shaped these sketches going forwards. And in these pictures I brought in the line work as well. So yeah, so today that's what I'm going to do. Get back to today, we are going to sample these Inktense pencil colours, and I'm going to use the Bokenford traditional watercolour paper. So this is basically a really smooth watercolour paper. I haven't used this one before, so we're going to see how the pencils take to this paper, and hopefully it'll give you a good idea of what these pencils can do. Okay, so we are going to work from right to left, I think, and we'll start with this little number. So this is Fuchsia, and to be honest, this one is the one colour that I rarely use. I mean, she does pop in now and again, but I don't tend to use this one really that much. I mean, I think I might use it more if I was doing flowers, a few more flowers. At the moment though, I'm doing a lot of landscapes. Okay, so this is it dry, and as with all of the Inktense pencils, they go on very smoothly. They're not really chalky like the luminance pencils, they're very smooth. And then I'm going to do another block, and this will be the block that I will wet, so you can see the comparison. So I'm just using a really simple watercolour brush. This is the brush that I use when I am going out sketching. I'm going to wet it up a bit. And can you see, look at that, it is a gorgeous colour when you wet it. Look how bright it is. So yeah, you can see that it's, see what I mean when you add the water, it just kind of activates the ink. Hopefully you can see that. That's Fuchsia. Okay, so the next colour we're going to be looking at is this one. This is a poppy red. I do like this red. It's not too cool. It's a lovely colour to actually use just to add a little bit of warmth. So I might use this on buoys, on fishing boats, or the fishing boat colour. There are some lovely red boats around here. Maybe sails. Let's clean that off and we'll see again. See? Lovely. And you'll find because it's so intense, the pigment, I could probably paint quite a bit with it. You can see on there actually how much pigment is you get. Okay, next one. Yes, this is Tangerine. This one's actually going on really smooth, smoother than the others. Alright, yeah. Not as intense as the other two, but still producing a lot of pigment, colour. And I've definitely used this orange on my boats that I've been doing. It does look very tangerine-y. Yeah, actually I have used that on my fruit, in my fruit drawings as well. Right, on to is Sun Yellow. Very bright, warm yellow. Looks quite nice next to the tangerine. It's not lemon yellow, it's definitely got a warmth to it. There we go. Now interestingly, it actually feels a little cooler now that I've added the water. It's quite interesting. There's still a lot of pigment again. Yeah, lovely. Okay, the next one I'm going to add now is the mustard. This one definitely does not look like the colour that's on this pencil. It's very deceptive. Even actually if I do a close-up of the nib itself, that does not look like what it looks like. So you can never tell. You really do have to test these to see what the colour is. So yeah, it's definitely not a Coleman's mustard yellow. It's more of a, I would say, a Dijon mustard. And it's not a yellowy mustard. But I do like this colour, and I use it quite a lot in my Cliff's colours. But yeah, can you see how it looks totally different when you wet it? It suddenly activates and you've got more of the yellow now coming in, that mustardy. So strange how it looks so different to the dry version. Okay, the next colour I'm going to do is, Saddle Brown, one of my newest additions. So I wanted a brown in between the dark brown that I have, which is a bark, and the more orangey brown that I have. I wanted this in between colour. Now I haven't wet this one before, so it's going to be a surprise as to how it's going to turn out. Let's see. Oh yeah. That is a lot lighter than I expected. But then it is a saddle brown, so you can see again it's quite different with its dry format and then wet. It almost actually looks, that colour looks like mustard in its dry form. Interesting. So that's saddle brown. Next colour. This is Baked Earth. This is another favourite of mine, you can see, because it's been used quite a bit. And this is definitely more of an orangey, reddy brown. Rusty almost. And there we go, it's a little bit lighter. It's definitely lighter than its dry counterpart. And you can see more of the orange now coming out of that one. Okay, we're going to move on to the greens. So, got, I think you can't really read that because I've used it quite a lot. It's apple green. This is a favourite. Because it's just so lovely. Look at that, just fresh. I love using this green. Great for veg as well, and apples, as well as, you know, just splashes of colour. Lovely green. Okay, so the next green, this is a green that I think I got this not that long ago. This is a field green, so this is slightly bluer. I think also I use this green, although it's called a field green, I use this green when I draw the sea, because it seems to be the right green. to mix in with some of the blues. As you can see, it's quite nice, it's quite fresh. There's definitely more blue in it. And comparison wise, again, you can see it's quite intense. Next, green. This one's a leaf green. And when you first of all use this, it kind of looks quite like olive-like. I do use a lot of green though in my work. There we go. Look at that. That's lovely green. Actually, now that dry one looks almost grey next to that. Okay, so our final green is this one, which is Fern. And again, if you look at the colour on the pencil end, it looks very similar to leaf green. So you really can't tell. So let's see. And yes, you can see it is quite a bit lighter than leaf green in its dry form. It's quite a nice green, quite neutral. Yeah, and look how bright again it goes when you add the water to it. Okay, now we're on to the blues. So let's go with, now the blues are definitely quite hard to tell what they're going to do. So this is a sea blue, and the colour on the end again really doesn't tell you a lot about how it's going to look. I think it's a lot brighter than what you think it's going to be. So now watch, look at that, it's almost a completely different blue. It looks a different blue when you wet it. How bright it is. It looks almost turquoisey, not as light as turquoise, but it's definitely a brighter, greenier blue. I do actually like using that as a base for the sea. And when it's when the water is added to it. So the next blue, probably can't read it because it has been worn. It's a deep indigo, a little bit like the Payne's grey actually in my luminance, a little bit darker. Let's have a look. How dark that is. It's actually a really nice blue, like a midnight blue. Imagine that as a night sky actually. Okay, so this is the penultimate one. This is bark. It's actually quite hard to see the brown in this. I find it's definitely more of a bluey base. And obviously softer than an ink black. Let's see. Now, interestingly, when I add the water to it, it almost seems like there's violet in there. It's really interesting. And again, that's really nice. I do use bark quite a lot, so this is the second pencil I've had. And then finally, we have ink black. It's quite close to bark in its dry form. Very, very close actually. Maybe just a little bit more blue in it. Or actually green. I think it's a bit greeny. But there is a difference when you add the water. Yeah, you can see that it's a lot darker, richer. You'd almost use it, yeah, like a black ink, really. And there we go. All of the Inktense pencils that I have. And you can see the dry and the wet. And the ones that dried, they are now permanent, so I wouldn't be able to re-wet them because they are ink based. It means then you can layer up. You can also add more textures on top, however you want to use them. I'll just show you a couple more pictures that I've got in my sketchbook, which use the Inktense pencils and watercolour. So this was a very quick sketch. You can see the indigo blue that I used, along with the mustard. It's really, really effective at just getting your colours down quickly. Yeah, these were some pigs that were at Roskilly's. So you can see some bits that I've softened up with the water, and then other bits that I've just left with the dry, and you get then the textures, the various. Just get a bit more depth with your sketches. So guys, I really hope that you found that interesting and helpful, and maybe you already own some Inktense pencils, or maybe you don't and you want to see how they look. So I really hope that has helped give you a better idea of how they work. Thanks guys, and I will catch you again very soon.